Appreciate it. I can promise you everybody you have met and will be meeting struggles with self-worth. How many of you have felt bad about yourself in the last month or two? Almost everybody, right? One thing I am convinced, the good people are very good at feeling bad about themselves. So all of you who have felt bad about yourself, you're actually a good person, just by virtue of that rule. So that is mindful presence, the 2-minute rule. And this is not meant to be nerdy, like you put a stop, alarm clock, the 2 minutes over, now I'm just going to start complaining. That's not the idea. So we do not attempt to make affiliative connections with our loved ones when we meet them. We don't try it actively. It's, honey, how was your day? What's up for dinner? It's a big loss of opportunity, big loss of connection, because this is what happens. When I first came here in medical care, most of my connection was affiliative. There's 3 kinds of connections. There's adversarial, logistical, and affiliative. And where do you think we are spending bulk of our time these days? Logistical. That's not nurturing. And it takes very little to convert logistical to affiliative. I'm in a cab, the cab driver is driving. I say, okay, this guy has a family of 4. Suddenly my connection becomes affiliative. I'm flying, I've got all crazy lunatic people around me, and they're just going to, start shouting whatever. I say, this is all my family. These are all my family at 36,000 feet. Completely changes my flying experience. So you can convert a logistical connection into an affiliative connection. I'm getting excited. Very easily. It doesn't take a whole lot. It just needs that intentionality. That's all. Okay, the 2-minute rule is only for 2 minutes. No, the goal is this gives you insight into developing authentic connections all day long, so you start enjoying people, start going into their story. Is only for happy, loving families? No. This is, you can practice with neighbors, pets, colleagues, and so on, and it definitely can include work colleagues. A point to think here, which was very important for me about 10 days ago when I was thinking about this slide, or these lines. Do you have someone in your life who deserves a little better attention of yours than you're giving to that person right now? And when I thought about it 10 days ago, I had my mother's face come in front of me. She's staying with us, but I'm so busy in my life, I'm barely having deep, authentic connection. So I've changed that, which has completely changed our quality of interaction and my own guilt and my own engagement and learning from her. She's 84-year-old. If I do the math, if she lives to 90, that's, 1,800 days more. So finite time. So this is mindful presence, intentional presence. So these are some ideas around attention. Any questions? So I've taken 4 minutes of your time so far. The morning 2-minute gratitude practice and the 2-minute rule sometime during the day, maybe at the end of the day if you're working, or sometime during the day. Any questions related to this? The third part, which I will just touch upon very lightly, is attitude. Is what kind of mindset do I carry? All right, so those are the 3. So mindset is a series of attitudes. So let's say you go for a haircut, and in 5 minutes you're going to meet your fiance or someone very important to you. And when you come out, this is the outcome of the haircut. So you want to improve your mood very quickly. How are you going to do that? So the first part, whenever you're handling stressful situation, is to identify a crappy haircut. That's my problem. Now, how do I eliminate? Anytime we have a problem, the first step is to try and eliminate it. So we can eliminate it by rescheduling, shaving the head, or wearing a hat. But let's say if we can't do that, is there a way to reframe the situation? Can he be grateful that he has hair? They will come back. Can he be compassionate towards thousands of kids who are getting chemo today and will lose their hair for good? Can he have acceptance that of the hundreds of haircuts, one is going to go bad, and that's how life is? Can he find meaning in it? How can he find meaning in this? Anyone? If she still likes him despite this haircut, she's a keeper. It's a good test of relationship early in his life. And but for this bad haircut, he would have never known that. Forgiveness to himself, to the hairdresser, to her if she laughs at him. So these are the 5 principles, because I cannot trust my mind to think rationally consistently. If you had all my thoughts live cast on a radio station, I'll be very embarrassed, because every day I have some crazy thought which doesn't belong to me, which comes. How many of you sometimes think crazy thought? You say, why did I think about it? Because that's not me. Most of you do that when you do that because your brain is tired at that time. You do not have control of your attention, right? So these are the 5 principles that I really trust. They're time-tested. They've been validated in hundreds, thousands of research studies. A lot of mystics and poets and spiritual beings, they all talk about these principles, somewhere around these principles. So one day I thought, okay, we've got 5 principles, and each of them engage the higher cortical brain, the prefrontal cortex. So I said, we have 5 principles, and we have 5 days in a week, so we assigned them a day. So Mondays are my days of gratitude, Tuesday of compassion, Wednesday of acceptance, Thursday of meaning, Friday of forgiveness. So I try to reframe or preemptively think about, maybe Google gratitude quotes on Monday. Maybe think about compassion for somebody on Tuesday. Maybe check cartoons on acceptance on Wednesday, and so on. And we will not go deeper into these. Hopefully we'll have an opportunity later, some other time, to get into these. The idea is not to be nerdy. The idea is, don't say on a Thursday, I can only be compassionate on Tuesdays, because that's how the program is for me. And the good thing is, you only have to forgive on Fridays. You don't have to forgive the entire week. So we have to be practical. So these are the five core principles. And they...
What was meaning again? What was the meaning?
Yeah, so okay, we'll go past 8 o'clock now. So meaning is what is most important to you in your life. So for example, and it can be related to work or spirituality or relationships. Those are the 3 main domains. My meaning in life for me personally is, what can I do to make the world a better place for my planet's children? And that is what drives everything I do. And it has taken away all kinds of conflicts from my head. So that is my North Star. For some, it'll be something else. But it has to be something that is altruistic, that is higher, that connects us all together instead of dividing us.
What if you can't attain your meaning?
Oh, the meaning is unattainable. You have to have a meaning that is unattainable, because then you are done and you get bored. If you, like Mr. J.C. Penney wanted to have $1 million and he had $1 million, now what? Now let me, increase it to 100 million. So most attainable meanings tend to be egocentric. I want to have something that is so big that it keeps inspiring me all my life. That's how I operate, something big. You can have an attainable, that is the means. Whatever is attainable is usually the means. There's a difference between means and meaning. Means are, specifically what you do. So I'm giving a talk to you, developing this program. That is the means. You have to be flexible about means. Because someday I may not be. I may be physically very weak to do this. But I can still pray for their well-being. And I'm still accomplishing my meaning. So meaning is the bucket. Means are the candies in the bucket. So having a meaning that connects us all together, if all of us sort of strive for that, then the world will be a much better place. Okay. What happens is people get too stuck in the means. I will only be happy if I have this house, or if I marry this person, if I sleep on this side of the bed. Those are all, if I do this job, those are all means. Meaning is something higher, something bigger, something more sacred.
Earlier you said that the sensory system is designed to withdraw from pain, but the mind takes us deeper into pain. Can you talk about that a little bit more, because that's very maddening.
Maddening. I'm sorry.
That the mind does that, and I think probably a lot of people have experienced that. hanging on to something. So could you talk a little bit
Absolutely.
more?
So I've got two ancestors. I've got Uncle Bill and Uncle Bob, okay? Uncle Bill is happy-go-lucky, optimistic guy. Bob is, sorry for Bills and Bobs here, Bob is better safe than sorry, okay? So there's some noise in the bushes, and Bill says, it'll be a hedgehog, I'll be okay. Bob says, it could be a tiger, let me take cover. So what happens is, in a proportion of time, it was a tiger. So the Bills got eaten, the Bobs survived to transmit their genes. So we have this negativity bias ingrained within us because it was very beneficial for survival for our ancestors. We mostly died of external injuries. So saving ourselves from external injuries was a big deal. If you and I met in the middle of a forest and if we were from a different tribe, we walked away without punching each other's nose, it was a great meeting. We were not kind to each other. But now the whole thing has changed. Now if you don't answer my text in 2 minutes, I'll be upset because you're hurting me emotionally. Now I'm protecting my emotional body. So this whole sensitivity, this whole negativity bias is maladaptive because my fear, instead of protecting me, is predisposing me to heart attack and stroke and cancer, which is what I'm likely to die of. And it's hollowing out my brain. And it is forcing me to act preemptively and do bad things. Do you see how maladaptive it is? And so that is why we have to become aware of our predispositions, honor them, and move past them. But unless we become aware of them, we'll be very tribal in this whole world. So we have to understand them, acknowledge if others are behaving that way so we don't start judging and blaming them, validate it, and then transcend it. Did I answer your question? I'm beginning to answer your question. This is very important for us to understand. Why should I take my gun out if you tailgate me? That's not, I'm basically ending my life and your life, making both of us highly, highly miserable. Because evolutionarily, if you tailgate me, you're insulting me. If you're insulting me, that means in my tribe, my kids will not get the food they need. So my response to you is the evolutionary consequence. What I should have done 10,000 years ago, I'm doing today. For a minor insult, which could be that maybe you were mind wandering, your car came close to mine. But this is happening everywhere now, right? And so because we're not thinking deep enough. That's the problem. Yeah. So what I have shared, basic program is about 30,000 feet view, and I think as you get deeper into the program, then we get into these discussions which are very enriching, and sometimes we do a full day or 2-day sort of discussion. The same concepts can be applied to a lot of different life situations, bad meeting, lost wallet, etc., etc. And our thinking is often conflicted, needs an intentional anchor. We often have, this is a very important question for you to answer, we often have simultaneous conflicting thoughts because of, is it lack of sleep, the brain's design, or the complex world? The brain's design. Don't blame if you have someone who's annoying in your life. They're struggling with the design of the brain. They're struggling with their genetic makeup, their epigenetic changes, and so on. So people who have low prefrontal dopamine tend to be anxious and nervous. They are the ones who will cut you across on the road. Earlier I used to blame all those people. Now I say, if someone cuts me across on the road, now I say, oh, that's a guy with low prefrontal dopamine. And that has changed my behavior. When you connect biology with behavior, the whole thing changes. Most stressors, modern stressors, can't be eliminated, but they can be reframed. And the two most accessible principles that I've shared with you so far are gratitude and compassion. Now, I see that it's 7:58, so what I have next are a bunch of research studies, which we don't need to go into. That is boring. All these curves, we've done over 22 clinical trials with this approach. You just have to, email me. I'm happy to provide you PDFs if you like to get bored. So So I don't think I need to get into those studies and waste our precious time together. The last message I would like to do is to bring my, now 7.5-year-old daughter in our room, and she was once working at daycare, playing at daycare, and she made this beautiful purple starfish, Sally the starfish. Okay, and I went to pick her up. I was going to drive her home, and she was playing with the starfish, and while playing with the starfish, it broke. So I thought she's going to start crying, but instead of crying, she looked at the starfish, and she said, "Daddy, this was a starfish, and now it has become a sailboat." So I thought that's a very good, resilient response. That's an option we have to reframe life's challenges. We identify why are we struggling, and I hope I gave you a little bit of different insight than just talking about, okay, we are busy, we are this, we are that. I sort of try to get into the brain's design, and the reason that helps people is because they feel validated when I talk to any demographic pretty much. They feel it's not my fault. It is really integral to the design of the brain. And that then leads to solutions, solutions that connect us, solutions that enhance our relationships, decrease loneliness, and hopefully, and those are some of my contexts, hopefully they help us move towards, fulfilling a higher meaning. Thank you for having me. Thank you.